How have you grown since last year?
Well,
Tell us all about it.
I'm, living the married life, which, it's great being in love. She kills for a living. What was I thinking?
So you get to apply to your character things that you didn't get to apply last year because you
Absolutely.
know your character in ways you didn't know it last year. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, there's absolutely sort of familiarity with the character and with the other Midnighters allows, I think, a more intimate way to tell our story. The solution in this, or rather the evolution of all our characters in this is very much, we show much more of their personalities because of their interactions. So it's not as much just the knowledge of Lem, but it's what Lem goes through that really, you get to see. And that's what you see for all the Midnighters. So, Fiji, Bobo, Creek, and Manfred, and us. It's sort of all the fantastical powers aside, just simply trying to have a relationship is hard.
So you're a vampire, so obviously you can't relate to it that way. But what other ways do you relate with your character yourself?
Actually, that's the thing that we actually really try and do is no matter what your power is, it's your humanity that matters in our story. So it's really, he's a vampire, but he's a vampire trying to look after, a new relationship, trying to take care of his, buddy, angel buddy, who goes through crisis, and trying to protect the people he cares about. And that's really what this is. And there are twists that are going to surprise everybody, because something happens to him that you would never expect. Can't tell you more than that.
When you're one of the senior characters, how do you relate or feel you connect with the newcomers, both within the framework of the show and you as an actor?
Well, the job, what I'm here to do is to play Lem and in the town of Midnight with the characters that we've grown to know. So it really is, what would you do if someone new came into your town? And that's really what this is. It just so happens that these people have powers that we're not familiar with, but they are new neighbors, and some of us want to take them in, some of us don't. Lem has a more sit and wait personality, tends to be quite cerebral, so he doesn't immediately dismiss them, but he doesn't trust them right away. It's always about, it's about sort of how the interactions happen over time, and that is what evolves the relationship with the new characters.
But then with the actors, do you find yourself saying, no, that wouldn't be what the character would do in the framework of...
No, actually, I find we've got, they're fantastic, Nesta's fantastic, Jane Ray's great, so really they've added to the show. And I tend to think this is what works with this particular group. There's so much trust of each other. The tendency is you do what you do and we can react to it. So rather than shape it, it has allowed us to evolve the characters beyond the books. So the books gave us the framework of the characters, and our writers have given us great storylines, and that has helped sort of evolve who these characters really are for our audience.
Looking back at season 1, what was the most memorable scene to shoot, either on camera or off camera?
Oh my God, there were so many. It starts from the turning into a vampire. That was a pretty incredible sort of episode to film. Along, of course, getting married. But there were so many, including the sort of being possessed by the veil and fighting, and the battle with Olivia as a result of. There were so many moments, but definitely, starting from turning to vampire, that backstory, to getting married by the end of the season.
As I look at your picture here, with your eyes as the vampiric being that you are, Do you find yourself acquiring some of those traits within your own personal life, or who you are? Do you feel
Hell no.
yourself?
I think Len's been taking a lot of my character. That would be really strange. I don't know. By personality, I tend to sort of, and this is what I love about acting. Just dive in and do this thing, and then walk away to go do something else. And Lem's one of the fun characters to play. Because think about it, how do you play someone who's fundamentally dead and still trying to have relationships?
Do you foresee immortality eventually taking its toll mentally on Lem?
I think it already has, and I think hopefully I'm getting that across. But I think that's part of his, I guess, relationship with Olivia. It's like actually increased his humanity. There's a certain sort of very almost robotic nature to him, because he's seen it all before.
Well, no, I know you're going to see.
But now he actually feels things he hasn't felt, and that's why it works.
One of the things that's interesting about shows like this show in particular, something we talked about last year even, was that because they had changed the character to suit you and
right.
That these shows, there's a diversity of mythologies. There's also diversity of actors, background, cultures, and that seems to be adding more and more to these kind of shows working. Do you think that's the case?
Absolutely. One of the joys of fantasy is that it allows for a very sort of diverse way of looking at any character and any situation, which sometimes we're sort of more restricted if we were doing a courtroom drama or the normal doctor show. So in this, we actually get to explore everybody in their diverse skin colors, outlooks, and still tell a story where the diversity isn't the issue. It's the story and the humanity that matters, and that's what's so great about fantasy.
If you had to visit Midnight, Texas as yourself, what would be your reaction? Would you hold a wedding there? Would you personally hold a wedding there?
Would I hold my wedding there at midnight?
Yeah.
The crazy issue would my wife let me? I mean, the skies are amazing. The backdrop is part of the character. But yeah, I'm a Londoner.
Have you learned about creatures you never thought about before?
Most certainly.
What's your favorite creature? Other than yourself, maybe. I don't know, maybe
when you think about it, though, because I've often been, it's the fact that, my best friends are a powerful witch, an angel, and a psychic is pretty cool.
Did it make you want to go and read other books and other mythologies?
Well, I was quite familiar with, especially because I'd worked on Charlene's True Blood prior to this. So sort of, and mythological characters are part of, I've always loved fantasy. It's just nice to be a part of this one.
Flower child. And Olivia whips me into
How would you describe season 2 without spoiling?
Season 2 is accelerated. Everything in season 1 is accelerated and much more in depth. You're going to learn much more about the characters themselves and their relationships.
Taking you out.
And I'm still getting beaten up by my wife.
And on that note, let me get a quick picture of you, and let me get a picture of the two of you together.
just my foot.
Oh, just your foot. I don't know if that's.
Okay, what can you tell us about Olivia?
Whoop whoop. Oh, let's see. I mean, Olivia's married. She never thought that would happen. Episode 1, I'm very excited for you guys to see the renovations in Olivia's apartment. I think accommodating her husband, Lem, has made her a great interior decorator. And then obviously we jump right into the psychic connection, which goes from being an amazing thing to like the psychic connection from hell. And, this partnership trying to navigate how do you have, we already have enough to deal with. And then on top of it, it's like, I'm this incredibly independent woman who now is trying to navigate this new life, married life. How do I create my own space? How do I let a partner in? How do I set boundaries? all the things. So, although we've got all the action going on, we've also got this intimate dialogue with Olivia of like, how does she do this new life, and how does she let herself trust a partner to do it with, because that's something she's never let herself do before.
So you're quite the dynamic personality in real life.
Thanks.
How does that personality inform or adapt or change the character as you've been doing this?
When you say dynamic, I'm assuming that's a compliment.
I mean it only as a compliment. Okay. You have quite the energy. I remember from before, and it's all coming back to me.
Well, you know, I have to ground it in Olivia, because she's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and especially, you know, the thing about her is she's a trained assassin, so she can be making a joke one second and throwing a knife at your face the next, you know, without even blinking. And so that's something I always have to carry into all my scenes, even if there's not even action written in the scene. I have to keep that in mind, like at any given moment. You know, it's like that kind of, that eagle eye, like being aware of everything at all times. And also bringing into every scene, even if it's not written, like her wounds and her past. And okay, yeah, she might be sarcastic in this scene, or she might be funny in this scene, or she might be angry in this scene, but where is that coming from? And it all comes from a place of her history and her past and her wounds and her and then so how do I layer all that stuff on top? So I feel like for me that's one of the most fun things about her, is building this really broken character to like cover it up with all this strength. And then you just let little parts seep through. And I feel like with my personality, I get to pull moments from my own life where maybe I've covered here, or I've used humor to get through something painful, or, you know, something I'm going through I don't want to talk about, so I'll focus on this, or I'll go kick someone's ass, or like, I won't really, I'll take boxing class, but you know. So I feel like I get to express a lot of the things that I don't share in real life through Olivia.
So do you do a lot of training then to be this trained assassin on screen? You mentioned boxing, but do you have any other thing that you do?
I do, yeah. It was really important to me to do as many of my own stunts as possible, both season 1 and season 2. I just felt like, you know, when I want young girls and young women and moms everywhere watching this, and I want them seeing my face doing the action. I just think it's that much more powerful. And so I would, which is very different from me, because I'm very athletic, but I'm like hippy dippy, let's go ride horses and do yoga and like sweat up a mountain, you know. So for me to throw myself into this world of fight training, it's exhilarating, and I appreciate learning the self-defense, but it's also like I've had to find ways to counter it, because it's so masculine and it's so intense that it can be hard for me at times. So I do fight training, fight choreography, weapon training, stunt choreography. I do kickboxing, boxing, stretching. I mean, I do the gamut. I learned how to work with butterfly knives and do different I mean, basically whatever is coming up, I learned. Season 1, I learned how to shoot a sniper with a running target. I mean, you name it, I've done it. So it's taught me a lot, but it's also, sometimes it's been scary. You know, it's been hard for me to pick up some of these weapons, because I'm not my personality is not a weapon personality. So it's been interesting to do that, and NBC's been great about it. I've really stressed using knives and other weapons as much as possible instead of guns. That's very important to me. I think we have a real responsibility, what we're putting on television, and I take it very seriously. And, you know, although Olivia is a badass, she never misuses her power and her training, and I think that's really important to show. So I've learned a lot from the experience.
So we're not going to see you make a career change and move into this particular career path.
if you want to give me a 3-picture deal for Hunger Games, the prequel, I'm not going to turn it down.
But how has playing the character informed you as an actor?
I think it's taught me to use my body even more. You know, as an actor, it's so important to be open, but I feel like with Olivia, it's just like tripled that. I feel like I have to get in touch with each of my senses has to be so on point. I have to know if someone's lying to me, if they're telling the truth. I have to hear things from behind me. I have to know what weapons I have at what time. I have to know where I'm going next. I feel like it's just opened me up to using every part of my body, and then also every second matters. You know, she's just like, even if she's telling a joke, it all matters. She's doing it for a reason. So it's kind of opened me up to like, her mind is like a puzzle piece.
Is there a chance that this new relationship dynamic is going to change Olivia in any way, or is it going to make her...
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Big. Huge. Like Julia Roberts. Yeah. Episode 4 and 5 were really, really fun for me to explore because they're a whole different Olivia. And she doesn't see it coming. And a lot about her past is revealed, but for the first time ever, she's going through it with a partner. And so what does that mean? You know, is she ready to let go of that pain and trust someone new to help her get through it, you know? And there's some really, really beautiful scenes between Olivia and Lem, and also Olivia and some family members that come to town. And it was fun for me to give her those moments because we haven't seen that from her before. And it was also like a little weird. It was like, wow, this is definitely a whole new Olivia. So I'm excited for you all to see that.
Are you able to step away from your character easily when the cameras are not rolling? Or does that character stay with you? Does it affect... You don't beat up any relationships of your own, I mean.
Well, only a few. No, then that's a great question. It depends on the character. There's certain characters I actually have to make it a point to like call cut in my trailer. And literally, when I take off the wardrobe, take time to do a quick meditation and just separate myself from them, because otherwise it does get very dangerous. You can take, without even realizing it, you can take home their way of thinking or their way of just feeling the world, and then it's very hard and very confusing. So I think, you know, it's like a lot of actors know how to work off of action, but sometimes it's even more important to work off of cut and to know that line, you know? And with Olivia, I would say season 1 was more difficult for me with that than season 2. I think season 2, I know her so well, I'm able to separate us. And also there's so much healing that happens in season 2 for her that it feels like a much softer experience for me.
How would you describe the overall theme of season 2 as a whole?
Love wins.
Yeah, because I think we actually did the same one.
What was the most draining experience about season 1?
Most
The
draining.
pun was not intended.
Honestly, we were working against such difficult weather. I remember there was a day where we had to switch all the scenes around, and they were like, Arielle going up in the tower to do the sniper scene, and it was like -20 up there, and I couldn't feel my fingers, and we were on a time clock, and I literally couldn't even make myself pull the trigger, and the camera was right here, so I couldn't fake it because it's seeing everything through the scope. And, you know, I'm looking at everyone down there in like their snow outfits, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this, how to get the shot, how to be a badass, how to do all the things. And then right after that scene, I had a running scene right into like indoor stuff where I was screaming and crying. So I just remember the actual schedule itself was so physically demanding, and there was so much like weather issues working against us that I would say it made it really hard. Like when I went home at night, I just took a bath and passed out. And I was like, give me the strength to do this again tomorrow. Because it was taxing on my body.
How is it when you're going from season 1 to season 2 and you have new people coming in? Do you find yourself mentoring them in some way or saying, no, that's
Jamie and Nestor are pros. There's no mentoring there. No, I was so excited when I found out they were joining the season. They're such talented actors. They add such a fun element to the show because starting with episode 1, we've got our potential enemy right in front of our faces. And it's like, who are you? What are you doing here? What are your intentions? Let me get to the bottom of this. And I loved it. I mean, sure, anyone new coming in, it can always create an awkward moment, but with them, it's been a piece of cake, and they're midnighters now.
Or otherwise, you feed off them.
Yeah, exactly. Or drain them.
Well, and I don't mean that.
Yeah.
If you visited Midnight Texas, if it was a real place yourself, what would be your reaction to that?
I'd be like, yo, get me the hell out of this one street town. No, actually, I love taking road trips, and I love going through towns exactly like Midnight. I would probably avoid the whole supernatural part of it all. That I don't love, but I love discovering small towns off the beaten path where no one goes. To me, that's where the most interesting people live.
Has this show informed you in other ways, spiritually, or about mythology, or anything that you had been interested in, or now became interested in?
Definitely. I feel like it's been so important to take these big, ginormous supernatural themes and root them in reality and ask myself what that means to me. Okay, you know, like if I'm fighting for someone's life but it's against a supernatural demon, how do I make that real? When have I felt like that in my life? When have I felt powerless against someone bigger than me or someone that I felt like had evil intentions? You know, because some people use the word like dark energy and it sounds so woo-woo, but that's also the same as someone talking shit about you. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's kind of been fun to navigate. Okay, when they say dark energy, they're talking shit. Like I've made my own vocabulary based off of this show, which and I'm very spiritual. I do a lot of meditating. I use crystal. I mean, honestly, in real life, I'm like more like Fiji. I have my incense and my crystals and all the tools to help ground me and stay focused and calm, and so I think it's been fun for me to play in the world, and also a little scary at times. We were talking about cutting with the characters earlier. Like, there's definitely some themes in this show that make me uncomfortable, and I feel like I've had to like protect myself so that I don't feel uncomfortable while I'm filming, and that's been a challenge.
So you were the one more likely to be bullied than to do the bullying.
Yeah, or I would probably just like tell a joke, try and make them laugh. I don't know.
What's been your favorite part about filming in New Mexico?
The land. I love the land here. I'm living on a farm. My neighbors are horses and baby goats. I love the sunsets. I love the sunrises. I do my meditation outside on the land with my tire swing. There's like a tire swing I sit on that hangs from it's actually the largest cottonwood tree in Corrales. That's pretty cool. So yeah, and I've been horseback riding, and I love exploring the land here.
Was this very different from your previous life experience in terms of, or had you been to a desert like this before?
I've never filmed in a desert climate. I mean, before this I was doing Ballers in Miami, so my body was like, hey, what the hell, fuck you. What? We're going from Miami to this? Okay, give me a minute to adjust.
Well, heat, but dry heat versus...
And the elevation, though. We've got the elevation and the dry heat. That's quite a combo. But once I'm adjusted, I love it.